Welcome to the Happy Bones, Happy Life podcast. I'm Margie Bissinger, a physical therapist and integrative health coach, and I am your host and guide on our journey to discover the keys to stronger bones, more happiness, and the secrets to live your best life ever. From nutrition to stress, from exercise to happiness, you will gain revolutionary insights from our leading experts. It is time for you to discover the health and happiness you deserve. Hey, Margie here. Did you ever wonder how you can use naturopathic medicine to improve your bones? Well, that's what we're delving into today with our special guest, Dr. Serena Goldstein. And Dr. Serena is a naturopathic doctor in New York City who has a special focus on hormonal health. She tailors her plans around mindset, nutrition, lifestyle, and appropriate natural therapies to address the mind-body connection. In today's talk, she's applying her training in naturopathic and homeopathic medicine to give us tips to balance our hormones and improve our bones. So stay tuned. Welcome, Dr. Serena. I'm so excited to have you here today. I know we met not that long ago in New York City at the Integrative Health Symposium, and I was just so fascinated by your background. I just loved what you brought to the table and your special gift. So I'm really excited that you're going to share that with our community here today.
Yeah, and I'm stoked to be here because I know we had such great synergy as well.
Yeah, so great. So welcome.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll start. You're a naturopathic physician. So why don't, and you bring, what I also like is that you also do a lot of homeopathy and you sort of combine the two. So why don't you maybe enlighten the listeners to what about those two different areas and what actually, the difference with the naturopathic physician?
Yeah, so as a naturopathic doctor, we learn a lot of modalities. Well, we learn all the ologies, gynecology, endocrinology, cardiology, and so forth. On the other side, we also learn, of course, nutrition and all the vitamins, minerals, supplements, but then we also learn homeopathy and botanical medicine and chiropractic-like work, minor surgery and IV therapy, and as well as pharmaceuticals, because it's important to know all the herb-drug-nutrient interaction. So this is where, actually there's a bit of a joke in our profession is that we all know where we want to get the person. It's just a matter of, that's why you'll sometimes find us with many different treatment plans, is because we do know so many modalities and just so many different ways and perspectives of addressing what the person needs and for it to fit into their lifestyle. The ones that I was always very passionate about was just really the foundations of everything, getting, a good diet, which can be very different for everyone, good sleep, stress management, mindset. And, then on the other side of things, I also fell in love with homeopathy because it really encompasses not only our physical symptoms, but how did the person really get there? Like that very unique piece. Because as you've probably seen, two people can have the same diagnosis, but but how they got there could have been very different, whether it's their own history or their family history as well. And homeopathy, I found, honors that.
You want to just go into what exactly homeopathy is? Because I think a lot of people don't know. They've heard of it, but they don't really know what that means.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different types. You'll probably see, whether it's at Whole Foods or some health food store, like these little 30C bottles. And it'll be like, well, I read that this was for this, but it's not on the bottle. It's because the FDA makes them put something on there. But once again, when you take it to someone who really knows homeopathy, they'll have their own ideas of why they may recommend that remedy. And a lot of those remedies are, generally for acute things. And when I say acute, something that happened right away, like you're getting a cold, you have a muscle strain from the gym. It's, just these, it's not really part of the big picture of, let's say, what's been going on for years. And then you can get into dosing as well. On the other side, how homeopathy was developed a little bit with the history, it was by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann back in the 1800s. and he was actually an MD, and he took a certain plant. The first one was, it's called Rhus tox for short, but I believe the long version is like Rhus toxicodendron. It's like this really long word. And he had the plant multiple times a day for about a week, and whatever symptoms it produced, that was characteristic of the plant. So homeopathy, for example, can be made from plants, minerals, and a number of other types of constituents. But imagine it's like an Olympic-sized swimming pool with a part of the plant or whatever constituent inside. And then what's actually bottled up, it has only such a small infinitesimal amount of the substance. The more it's in different preparations, the more it's succussed, or let's say like tapped on a hand, or in other ways of moving the energy around, it may not be anything at all. So then it's where, if you've ever heard of Avogadro's number, anything below that number doesn't really exist. So this is where, yes, you can have remedies like belladonna, aconite, nux vomica, like these supposedly very toxic constituents, which would actually be toxic botanicals, in homeopathy. Because then how it's characterized to the person is it fitting their mental, emotional, and physical? And that said, remedies can also be characterized by, depending on how the person presents and how pathological things may seem, both from who, they are. And when I say pathological too, it's just, yeah, there's some people where you're, looking at, maybe there's just more of a maintenance piece, and there's, others where a lot going on, and then a lot in the mental, emotional side as well. And I mean this in a very nor good nor bad, but when you're looking at what kind of remedies can really fit a person, it's also knowing that sometimes a remedy will take a person a long amount of time. Sometimes it may be short, sometimes it may not be the right remedy, and sometimes those remedies can change as the person continues to heal and moves further up that spectrum of dis-ease into homeo, meaning the same, back into balance, like homeopathy.
Great. So let's now take this discussion to the bones. So how do you use, let's actually start early on, because you work with women and people from the whole spectrum. And I love that part, that what you're doing with someone when they're 20 is going to impact their bones when they're 50. So why don't you just say how you used your background when you're working with people in terms of preventing and just helping people maintain good bone health through their lives?
Yeah, and so that's so much of what I do, is meeting people wherever they're at any age. And it's not just about addressing that. I mean, of course, you want to address the one concern, get them feeling better. But in doing that, what's really the big picture? Like when I'm talking to my young women, and a lot of them are coming in like, oh my God, birth control's not working anymore. My acne is so bad. The PMS, the painful periods. And then, those last few pounds aren't coming off, which, is a lot of where I work in the hormone and weight department. Is then I get to say to them, okay, well, chances are you've probably had a lot of this as a teenager, which means it's not just about addressing the here and now. It's about peeling back the layers and getting you to that place of, we're healing from your teenage years. And chances are we're going to start finding stuff in your past history of hormone imbalances, because hormones play a huge role in just the integrity of our bones. So, if we're able to further optimize just how our body functions overall, then that means maybe they'll have an asymptomatic menopause. Like they won't really have those crazy hot flashes, or, the insomnia and the mood swings. And it's not to say it's one or the other, because yes, there are some symptoms that are normal, but, a lot of the times we hear in these other countries, menopause, to what we think of it, doesn't exist. PMS doesn't exist. Sure, maybe there's a little bit of bloating around your period, but nothing to where you should be on the floor vomiting, taking off from work, like, incapacitated. Or because, like, yeah, even in the Jewish religion, it's still seen as that honoring time for yourself, but not because you feel so badly, but it's honoring that cycle of life. Or then working with women in their, like late 30s, 40s, they're like, oh my God, is this perimenopause or is this stress? Well, why are we now seeing it in our late 30s? Same thing. It's now snowballed over time. And then usually around the late 40s, 50s plus, well, do we have to take hormone replacement? Or we know we can't be on it forever, and how do we get off of it? Once again, it's not just about replacing hormones. You're now really working to backtrack. What were all those hormonal imbalances leading up to this that could also be contributing to poor bone health? And what are the next few decades going to look like? Because you can't be on hormone replacement forever. So where do we really need to work in actually bringing the body to not be breaking down anymore, but to actually be literally building itself up and reducing all that inflammation?
So I love that you talk about and that's one of my pet peeves, is that people think about everything else. And again, if you have generally good health, that's going to have a big impact on your bones, because the bones aren't in isolation. They're just part of the entire body. However, people just don't think about this early on. So when someone comes in and they are having these hormonal issues, I like to really start at and I know you do as well, at the very base level. Like, what would be the first things that people who are listening, maybe be aware that maybe they are having some hormonal issues, and what would be the first things that you would say that people should work on when it comes to this area?
Yeah, drink enough water, time and time again. 8 ounces, 30 ounces, and even 50 ounces is not enough. I'm talking about, like, wake up in the morning and have your 20 to 25 ounces of water, and then continue to drink set amounts, maybe a portion between breakfast and lunch, double that between lunch and dinner. And chances are by that time, which you'll also naturally find that you're eating less and your cravings are going down. And what that's really going to help with is things like sugar and all those blood sugar spikes. So actually there's more research out now that, especially in postmenopausal women, addressing the blood sugar piece takes a slightly higher precedence than solely addressing hormones. And yes, and they'll actually both feed, one back into the other, but drinking enough water is going to be really important for making sure we don't have those crazy blood sugar spikes. And fun fact, it's those blood sugar spikes that could also be adding on those extra pounds, because that's the release of cortisol, and our abdomen already those receptors are 4 times more responsive to cortisol than the rest of our body. And chances are, if now, okay, your blood, you're feeling a little better, because it's usually those unhealthier items or even where sugar is hidden. And once again, not that sugar is bad, it's just that we're probably getting it from more sources than we need. Like, are you really filling half of all your plates with lots of dark leafies and all these vegetables? Probably not. Or, the healthy fats, because those take time. And that's, part of the lifestyle and where I work with people.
And I think that's so interesting, because most people, I have to be honest with you, that most people do not even think that what they're eating, if they are eating things that do spike their blood sugar, that has any effect on their bones, or their hormones, or how they're feeling. I don't think the majority of people, you can agree with me, aren't seeing that as a big piece of it. And that going back to that level is going to make a big difference in their entire health. It's just so incredible.
And how coffee, for example, can leach minerals. And then if we're always stressed and on the go, so we're not really chewing our food and then we're just eating whatever, well, then what's that going to do to our gut and absorption? So then we may literally not be getting the vitamins and minerals that are needed, for bones, because bones is not just calcium. It's vitamin D, it's vitamin K, it's phosphorus, it's all the minerals. So those also circle right back to our adrenal glands and that salt water balance as well. So you're also looking at adrenals too as the main source of hormones. So chances are, if you need coffee to function, your sleep isn't quite right, you're waking up at like 2, 3 in the morning, which is actually huge and indicating that there's something off with your liver in Chinese medicine, or it's just that organ of focus, we'll put it that way. Well, the liver does a lot with thyroid and blood sugar and hormones, both making and metabolizing. So once again, these are all pointing to there's a much bigger picture at hand than just what medication, what supplement. And actually what I do find, because I do have a number of patients too in the 50s plus, get off the cardio machine. Oh my God, lift some weights. Even if you're moving from 5 pounds to 8 pounds. And unfortunately, there are so many diets, so many different exercises. And it's funny because I have a personal trainer as well who's told me too repeatedly that some of her strongest patients are the 50 plus women. And another patient I have too is in her 60s. When I finally fixed her up with a personal trainer, she's like, oh, I feel so empowered. And as I said, this was just going from 5 pounds to 8 pounds.
Well, it's unbelievable because I'm a physical therapist and I've worked with this for, over 20 years. So I at the state level, I work on programs in New Jersey where we have seniors who are in their 80s and they've been doing exercises for years. They are so inspirational. I see such strong people and it makes a huge, just as you said, but it makes a huge impact on their bones. So
mentally.
Absolutely. But I want to circle back because I think you said water is so important. And a lot of us get really busy during our day. And then people I hear very often, oh, I don't want to have to go to the bathroom, so I don't want to drink the water, or I just don't like the taste of water. So would you have some tips when you're trying to help people have more water in their day? Are there some of your favorite ways to get them to drink more water?
Yeah, of course. Get a big water bottle. When I say big, I mean over 20 ounces, because that way it only has to be filled up at minimum 3 times. Of course, if you're running around a bit or going to the gym, you'll naturally want to drink more water. And fun fact, hunger and thirst are actually the same signal. So you may actually be thirsty while you're eating. So in that sense, once again, curbing appetite, balancing blood sugar. It's not like I'm telling you, reduce your calories, like pull everything aside, don't eat this, don't eat. It's like, no, we're going to add a bunch of stuff in. And then what will happen is you're naturally going to find what makes you feel really good and strong. And ultimately, you're just going to want to be wired like that. Things to add to water that I really like are apple cider vinegar. Great for balancing blood sugar. It also just helps wake up our digestive system a little bit, because a lot of the times, especially if we are getting the gas, bloating, and it doesn't have to be like, you're extended like a beach ball, but it's usually enough where people may find a little discomfort. And once again, it just helps wake things up a little bit.
And also, a lot of people have reduced stomach acid, so it helps with that as well.
Well, and especially as we get older too. So sometimes I'll put like a cap, so you can put a capful in a big bottle of water and just even drink that throughout the day.
Yeah, that's
or
great.
If you want to have some, like, a little bit before a meal, you can do literally a little bit of it, but it can be really acidic. So you may want to pull out those shot glasses from college if you like. And then just some other general favorite combinations or just lemon water. Sometimes I'll recommend like lemon and apple cider vinegar in the morning is a really nice wake me up detoxifier, where even like right before you reach for your coffee, you'll actually find that this will give you just more energy, and versus, the coffee that plasters you on the ceiling. Which, quick note about that. So with coffee, I've actually seen cases turn around, whether there's an anxiety, mood, whole stress piece, switching into dark roast coffee, which actually has the least amount of caffeine. And also be wary where you buy coffee, because there's a lot of chemicals in filter paper. And so think of all these places like, the side corner, whatever, and wherever their coffee is made from. So let's say organic dark roast coffee in a French press is going to be a lot different than your corner store.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we talked about water. We talked about balancing blood sugar. And I personally, I used to be a sugar addict, and it was, I would like sneak chocolate chips, and and then once I stopped that, it's unbelievable the amount of health changes that occurred. I just can't even. Got off of my thyroid medication. I have Hashimoto's. It was just unbelievable, all the amazing things that happen. So I completely agree with you. It's so, so very powerful. And that's where we need to start. We need to start the very base level. And just like you're saying with the work that you do. So I think that's really great. So why don't you continue then with the hormones, the things that you see most typically in terms of as you work with people through the ages.
Yeah, and then, what I'll find too is, especially in women, hormones are a lot of sacral chakra. So there are times I'll flat out ask people, all right, where did anger and repression show up? And then I'll get my childhood, my mother, the ex-boyfriend or ex-partner, the boss, just.
You know what? Let's just stop right here, because I love this piece, because I'm big into happiness and big into stress management, and I think I've seen firsthand that changes everything. So let's just go back to even tell people what the chakras are, and just go back to what you said, because I think that is so powerful, and I don't think it's something people think of. Oh yes, I have a problem with my root chakra. So why don't you just backtrack and spend a little more time on this, because I love what you're saying.
Yeah, so ultimately chakras, so there's 7 different points in our body, starting right at the base, just at our hip level, the root, and then sacral chakra is, our reproductive organs, which, surprise, make hormones. And then sometimes I'll see a little bit with the GI, kind of around the adrenal piece as well. And then hence, think of thyroid, so moving on up, there's the heart chakra, the thyroid, and then they're represented by different colors as well than the crown chakra, right at the top of our head. And ultimately, it's about having that flow of energy, which it's funny because I also had patients be like, well, how do I know when I'm feeling better? So they'll feel little by little, but then what happens is maybe they start to go back to an old habit. Life happens, which is where I say too, it's I want to be there to catch you when you fall off the bandwagon. And it's not like I, slap your wrist or anything. It's just, great. What did you notice? What came up for you? Because those chakras, they can all be malaligned to some extent, but it's about bringing our body back into balance. So once again, another perspective of letting that energy flow.
And how do you help people through meditation, or how do you help people open the different chakras?
It's actually through homeopathy, when I'm really working on, so as I mentioned earlier, the acute, but then there's the constitutional, which is an intake that really encompasses more of the digging into your childhood. And I don't mean, where you're, because I know that may bring up some things for people. That's why I don't always do it right away, unless, of course, someone really wants to. But where I'm looking at is, what are those patterns? Because chances are how we grew up, we know deep down we didn't land here for, just out of the blue and wake up one morning feeling not good in our own skin and that everything is literally breaking down. There are habits or certain life events that may have happened way back when, but we all need that second set of eyes. So where I'll find is that sometimes even just bringing awareness of, hey, actually, you do have a long pattern of doing this, and it may not be your fault because we also carry emotions in our DNA. So, understanding where you came from, your family dynamic, moving back through the generations, because what you're doing is you're breaking a lot of those habits that you've probably carried with you. And that's really hard. So now you're also giving people the chance to sit with it and acknowledge that, oh, you are doing the work, you are healing. And I'll find, maybe following up, that up with some flower essences or, oh my God, like reading, I can turn out books, so maybe I'll have some good book recommendations if they love to read, just these different resources. Of course, if they ever really wanted to go further in, then I have wonderful natural professionals who can really take them to those, much deeper places. But, as I said, where I find is when they have that awareness, all of a sudden, now their change is going to come organically to whatever we talk about. All of a sudden, oh, they're going to want to go to sleep a little earlier because they now feel really good when they go to sleep earlier. They're going to enjoy eating vegetables because they're fully nourishing themselves and taking that responsibility. They could also tell me if they don't like certain vegetables. Fantastic. Maybe we'll find other vegetables, or maybe we just discovered you love avocados, and we'll work through things that way. Actually, with one patient, because I know alcohol is always, oh my God, do we have to give up our alcohol? Do we have, not necessarily. Chances are there, if it's a really big barrier, we'll talk about other alternatives and, what's the education around it. But, for one of my patients, a lot of the conversation became, oh, well, if she really likes something, then maybe it's a hobby, let's learn about it. So then it actually becomes an experience, like people who love food. I'm a huge foodie, but it doesn't mean I have to be eating 24/7, for example. But
And I think that's
what
a
is
good
it?
point, though, too,
Yeah.
because people sometimes think, oh, I have to go on this healthier diet, that it's going to be so they're being deprived of but it's just the opposite. I feel the same way. You can have the most delicious, wonderful food that's also nourishing to your body. So a win-win in
And
both
and
respects.
that's the boundary piece a lot, the hormonal, the sacral chakra, it's, do we really feel like we deserve it? What is nourishing to us? Because there's so much media. We know there was media decades ago, and then we have all the media now. And then there's this, oh, but I have to preserve my youth, and that fear of getting older, literally at any age. Um, I hate to say it, but even in my generation, how many of my friends, or what I'll hear from other, in other phone consults, with women my age, is like, yeah, we're getting older.
Wow, that's interesting. I haven't heard
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
not at a younger age like that. I didn't realize that was even an issue.
well, yeah, because as I said, what they're seeing is they've been on birth control for 10, 15 years. All of a sudden it stops working and all their teenage crap has come back. And now the moment they have a glass of wine, they're hungover for how many days, and they have to have coffee to function, and their hair is probably falling out or growing in places, and they've tried everything under the sun.
So I guess your message is, if that sounds like you or your children, they should see someone immediately, right? And nip it now.
These are
So
all warning signs, just like those painful periods as a teenager. Those were still warning signs. But the problem is they were probably mitigated by Proactive and Midol. So the moment something goes away, whether it's pharmaceutical or natural, we don't really think about it until something else pops up. And then in conventional medicine, unfortunately, where a lot of the studies are very segregated, think of all the different ologies, that then people are being shuttled as we get older from specialist to specialist. And then there's this huge range, like even autoimmune disease can take even close to 20 years to get diagnosed. But the first warning signs of an autoimmune disease were, I'm tired.
Yeah, it's so true. So everybody listening, if any of this, do you want to go over or did you go over most of the warning signs, or were there any other ones that you want to let
It's
people
those,
know?
yeah, it's those really vague, which is where naturopathic medicine, and also more open-minded professionals are so fantastic at catching people at, is that even if you don't have any markers showing up, still the etiology of a lot of autoimmune disease is gut stuff, adrenal. Think of it, the body is attacking itself. That's a huge mental emotional piece. Like your body is literally turning on itself. That's which is kind of weird to think about. But once again, these are just clues. So catching it at that place of where you just don't feel quite right and no one is quite listening to you. Well, keep going on that journey until someone does. Even if your blood work looks normal and you just don't feel right. Well, when I tighten the ranges of everything, oh, now we're entering into a bigger picture and I could let you know why you don't feel good. So once again, to keep asking questions. And if you notice, I'm not telling you to ask Dr. Google. I'm telling you to ask professionals until you do find someone who truly resonates with you, because to be great, we all need those extra set of eyes, really keeping us on the ball and letting us know, yeah, where do we need to tweak stuff, and providing that path so we can then best be on our lives and do what we love doing.
Let's just take that to bones for a minute, because I see this, I've been seeing this for years and years, that people do have an autoimmune and they didn't realize it. They just didn't realize it. That, oh, I've had arthritis for years, or my joints have hurt, or I've been tired and fatigued. And they just assume that's life. They just accept that. But what's happened all these years, they've had a lot of inflammation, and that's really played a factor in losing bone. There's a big role of inflammation in osteoporosis and having bone, break down. And so, now it's years later and we address, maybe it could be gluten, whatever it is. There's so many different underlying causes, and all of a sudden everything starts getting better. So the earlier you can pay attention, and it's just going to make a difference in everything. But I see it so often with the bones, that these inflammation and these autoimmune conditions, that people think, oh, if I have a problem, I'll have stomach aches, but that's not necessarily true. It can be your weakest link anywhere that the body's breaking down. So look for all types of signs. And I love what you said, just don't accept that. We should be feeling great. It's not, oh, you're getting older, everything should have aches and pains. Absolutely not. It doesn't need to be that way. That's what's really so great. Do you see the same thing, Dr. Serena?
Exactly. And it's also in a lot of the speaking that I do as well, just helping people understand, even not sleeping through the night. Like, once again, in Chinese medicine, like if you're waking up at a certain time during the night, then that's pointing to, whether it's the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, like, there could be a bigger picture at hand, because we're also taught, unless like something is totally breaking down, because unfortunately, once again, in conventional medicine, there's this watch and wait period. But, as we know now, what's been so popularized is that there's so much to do between that watch and wait that you don't need to wait. It could be that you're a little more tired than usual. You don't have that same pep in your step. Your libido is not quite there. Those few pounds are not coming off, no matter, how much you've tried. And so it's these little pieces where we start to feel that maybe a small piece is age, but as we know too, there's a much bigger piece that isn't. So let's make sure there is someone on your team, or multiple people. Actually, a lot of what I personally do too is quarterback, speak a lot to MDs, and then a lot of wellness professionals, and, making sure, everyone's getting what and who they need.
Oh, I love that, because one of my missions is to really reduce significantly. I believe if we took care of things early on, that, we wouldn't have this kind of osteoporosis and problems that we're having with so many things. But I think all these issues you're bringing up are so very important. And I guess in terms of finding someone really needs to find the right practitioner.
Yeah, I
correct?
mean, for example, like which I'm sure you do as well, I personally offer complimentary 30-minute phone calls. Just, hey, I want to make sure I get along with you too, and that we're both on the same page. I know a lot of my colleagues do. If you are looking for naturopathic doctors, and I know there are a lot of us too who do, like Skype, phone call, and so forth, and have patients out of state. Naturopathic.org is a great site, and it lists pretty much all our professionals. So that would be a nice place to start as well. And then there's also a number of functional medicine doctors. Now that's really been the very up and coming, as I know a number of MDs as well who will both pick each other's brains. So it's
Yeah, I think, and it's my hope that this is the future, and I see this more and more, that
it
people
is.
are getting to root cause. They're seeing the impact of diet. I mean, exercise we know now. Meditation, that's been around for a long time. That regular, convention, everybody is advocating that. But now that we're looking at root cause, I think it's becoming more and more. It's getting there in terms of but for everybody listening, that's where you come in. Just like Dr. Serena said, if something feels off, don't just say, oh, it's just the way it is. You need to really delve in, and you need to see what's going on. And then your whole life improves. It's so
Yeah.
amazing. I just see this all the time. And that's why sometimes when I see someone for their bones, they'll come in because they want the right exercises and the right food, but yet there's a much deeper problem. So it's sort of like their entry, but then they do things, and then the rest of their life they feel so much better. So it's sort of just brought them in, but yet then they can, just like you're saying, once you figure out what's going on, everything improves, and it's great. It's I think very exciting. But you have something wonderful to offer in terms of, for everybody listening to get started and just seeing if you're doing the basics. Do you agree, Dr. Serena? That's where they
Oh,
start. So you
okay.
have this. Tell us about your tips that you're offering everybody who's listening.
Yes, and it's right on my website, but I believe it'll be in my bio as well. Yeah, just a complimentary guide, just the top tips. Yes, it's to get off the weight plateau, but it's also ultimately to balance hormones, because our fat cells also give off a lot of hormones and receive a lot of hormones. So you're really getting a huge bang for your buck in the tips listed here. And these are patterns I've seen with patients, with talking to people, and just what are, especially too, as busy professionals, busy people, just always on the go. You also want to be doing things that you can also take on vacation or when you're not at home, like things that you can do as part of your lifestyle. So I've included those for you as a free gift.
Oh, great. And I'll have that as well with the notes with the show. And so everybody can just click and get that. And that's great, because that's the best place to start. So we definitely, things to take away here are the water, whatever we can do with the blood sugar, right, Dr. Serena? We can
Oh, yes.
take that away. And then your tips. There's all sorts of, but just know to start with the basics. Don't accept anything. Just don't accept things as normal, there's just no reason to, because you can be, why not feel great? Because it's possible.
Yeah.
So what else do you want to say? Do you have anything else that you want to contribute? You want to tell everybody who's listening?
Yeah, we've covered a lot. Based on my past experience too, I know this is probably a lot to digest, no pun intended.
So Dr. Serena, is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners today?
That was it. I mean, honestly, there's a lot more, and that's where, of course, I have all the blogs on my website, and a press page where I've also been published in numerous, like Mind Body Green and so forth. But I would say, honestly, I'm always happy to jump on a call and be a resource, because even if something clicks and it's just like, wait, maybe you have another question, please do message me, because at the end of the day, we literally do need to trust our gut and make sure that we fully are being taken care of. And that's what I love now in this day and age. It's not just, oh, trust the doctor and do whatever. It's like, no, let's actually work with a doctor, with a professional. in ensuring that, let's say, your treatment plan, even though if you have the same concern as someone else, but it's going to fit your lifestyle, while their treatment plan is going to fit their lifestyle. And it may look a little different. And it's really just acknowledging too, like, do you also understand what your trajectory of care is going to look like? And all the motivational things that come in between. So that's where I'm just so passionate about helping people understand that, yes, what you're coming in with, of course, is important. We look at all different types of treatment. Once again, one is not better than the other. One may just suit you better than others.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And yeah.
No, that's great. But that's why I loved having you here, because you bring something different to the picture with your background and your homeopathy, and just the way you look at the whole person, I think is really wonderful. And I think you've enlightened our readers to lots of things that yes, it helps the bones and the hormones, but it helps everything. So I think that's what's so exciting. So I'll have your website, and you want to just tell everybody your website?
Yeah, so it's drserenagoldstein.com.
Okay, and I'll have all the links in the show notes.
Yeah, and I'm plastered all over social media too. So as I said, please feel free to connect, reach out, say hi.
And thanks for offering this great tips, so people can just look at that and see where they stand and maybe add some things to their life to make it just a little bit better. So
of course.
So thank you so much.
Really, thank you for having me. This was
time. My pleasure. It was a lot of fun. Have a great day.
You as well.
Okay, thank you. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Dr. Serena as much as I did, and have some good take-home tips that you can put to use in your life right away. All the links are in the show notes. So goodbye for now, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Happy Bones, Happy Life podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe on your favorite listening app so that you don't miss any amazing insights on upcoming episodes. And until next time, continue to live your best life ever. See you soon.